Hi.
Hey everyone. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're so excited and happy to be here with you all.
It's always a treat when Crystal and I get to be on this again together
Yeah,
because we're kind of mixing it up. So we're happy to be here too.
it feels like coming home.
Uh, oh my goodness, it
Yeah.
does.
So,
Yes.
we are talking about how to uncover your superpower and why defining your own values and strengths can make you happier and more successful. So, yeah, it's exciting. We can dive into that. For those of you who do not know, my name is Crystal Hines.
And I'm Erin Linehan.
And we are the co founders of the Kali Institute. We are a counseling and wellness practice located in Broomfield, Colorado. And we just love working with high achievers to help them access their best lives and joyfully release their inner badass. So, we would love for you to come check out our website, thekaliinstitute.org. No, thekaliinstitute.com.
We got it. We said it a lot of times. So there we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, and any of the other stuff on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, we're everywhere. So, yeah, thank you all for being here. And again, we are talking about how to uncover your superpower and why defining your own values and strengths can make you happier and more successful.
And so, why are valued? I think values is often this kind of elusive topic that people talk about a lot, but no one really defines. And if we define it, it doesn't give tangible examples about how to do that. And so, I feel like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like it's something that we should do, but no one knows how to do it or like what that means. So, we're going to kind of
Mm-hmm.
talk about why it's important and how to get there. And so, for me, I did an exercise within the last year. Is my friend went to this retreat and she came back with this amazing values exercise. And so part of the exercise was there was probably she is a laminator, and so there was probably like 50 different values to choose from. And what we had to do was go through and pick out 5 of our top values that aligned with us most, and then kind of and then a little bit and then 5 that didn't align with us at all,
Oh,
which was
I like
super,
that.
yeah, super interesting to kind of see the comparison. And so we got rid of every category except for the things in the top. And so that was super helpful to me because what I realized in that and through talking through that exercise is things that if I value something, then I surely should make it a priority. And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not making a priority, then it's probably not one of my values, or at least not one of my values currently. And so I think that's important to. So what are to look at like what we're doing in life, and then
Mm-hmm.
what are we prioritizing? We'll give you some clue into what our values are. So that
Mm-hmm.
was super powerful exercise for me because now I have them. Um, I have my values, and then I can base on what am I doing. And if I'm like working super hard, well, financial stability is super important to me. And if I am getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do P90X, then then that's super important to me because health is important to me, and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
that's my experience with values. Clarification was super helpful.
Yeah. And when talking about this particular topic for tonight about uncovering your superpower, like for real, really being rooted down and understanding your own values and strengths just sets a really awesome foundation for
Yes.
where you're headed. It's like this is the path.
And it
And
gets rid of all like the side
yes,
chatter or like noise because you know exactly where you're going.
yes, absolutely. And then talking about our strengths as well, when you really are rooted in and understand like what you're good at and really get that, not like what you want to be good at or where you think you should be good at, but truly what your strengths are,
Right.
and you can know them, that makes life so much
A
easier.
lot easier. I think that's why. So Crystal and I were talking about when we were writing up what we were going to talk about tonight was that we worked a lot of times before we started the Kali Institute about what we wanted out of this, but then how could we be partners together? And so
Yeah.
we like to call it premarital business counseling,
Yeah.
which was the most helpful thing that we did before we started because we are opposite on the Myers Briggs, which
So
is a
let's pause.
pause.
Myers Briggs, I'm an INTJ. Anyone out there represent?
And I'm an ESFP. And so
Total opposite.
total opposite,
Shadows of
yes.
each other.
And so Crystal really likes to do all the things that I really don't like to do.
Mhm.
And so and because we go. So I really like to do content type of stuff and like ideas and throw things around. And Crystal is very, very, very detail oriented and gets things, and the ship runs very efficiently. And we need both of us.
Yeah, and we really, I think we still learn what ways that one of us might feel more comfortable doing a certain task. It's been really awesome to see like the things that I'm good at. Aaron doesn't even have to worry about, and the things that Aaron's good at, I don't have to worry about it. And it's just like, just let that go.
Yeah.
So really understanding your strengths doesn't even have to be in the context of work or a business setting, but can just
for life.
Yeah. It can make things just easier and more efficient and streamlined. And
because
nice.
if you are not in line with your values, or you're not in line with your strengths, or that's not aligned, then it is super duper draining on our energy. And so that's, if you're we'll get more into that.
Yeah, so I think that's a good segue. We're talking about how to define your own values and strengths can make you a happier and more successful person. And our first point is having clarity is a superpower.
Absolutely. And so when we were talking about it, to give you a visual, so what are we talking about? And for those of you that live in Colorado, or have ever been in Colorado, or have been in the mountains when it's a beautiful sunny day, like a Colorado blue sky day, as a visual of what clarity we're talking about. And so when it's just everything is clear, you can see colors are bright, the sun is out, all of the things, like that's what in our minds, that's what clarity we're talking about.
Yeah, let's pause and think about that.
It's a good thought.
Oh,
it's so nice.
That is what clarity feels like.
Right.
It's like a Colorado blue sky sunny day.
And so values will give you clarity that you need. And so for me, we often talk about that we can set our goals, and so we know where we want to go, or generally we want to go, and focusing on the process is the way to make things sustainable, and to keep on pushing forward, and to not get so caught up in the end, because things don't ever really end, right? But if we have clarity on our values, that process seems way more doable and less draining, for at least for me, because I know where I'm headed, but I also know how I'm going to get there, because I'm doing things that I prioritize, which are in line with my values.
Absolutely. Yeah, same for me. So I've always been a very goal-oriented and high-achieving kind of person, right? Those of you who know me. So in order for me to actually reach those goals and the things that I'm working toward, is I have to be rooted in what my values are in this particular thing. So if I understand why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing, even if I don't like it in the moment, like it's still rooted back in with the value that I have for that particular goal. Right. And it helps to keep me going. And then knowing my strengths is the same thing. I do what I know that I'm good at in order to reach that goal.
I also think that when we can be very clear about values, right, and our strengths, then it alleviates some of our anxiety, and then boosts some of our mood to help with depression.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that is super important. Like, why is this important to clarify? Because when we feel lost and we don't know what direction we're going in, and we don't know what our values is in order to prioritize, then that increases my anxiety a lot.
Yeah.
And
then you're just like stuck.
Yes, stuck in this loop. And so
feels shitty.
And then anxiety and depression are two sides of the same coin. And so that is a definite bonus of having clarity around values.
Having clarity provides some kind of often an action oriented like plan or step, right, that involves doing something, which helps to move through depression, because depression, you just don't feel like doing anything, right? And so having this clarity really does help you to be a happier and more successful person, because you're working through and moving through anxiety and depression that might be holding you back, and clarity is a way to get there,
right?
Yeah.
So there we go.
All right. So why defining your own values and strengths can make you happier and more successful. Moving into this point, which we've touched on a little bit, priorities illuminate your values.
Right. And I think that if we're not making things, like if we are doing things that are not our priorities. So we have a a blog post that we'll talk about that is a whole values exercise. And one of the things that is, if we think of health as one of our values and we choose to eat pizza and cancel our gym membership, then probably at that moment we're not valuing or prioritizing our health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we are I'm gonna get lost in this thought when we're cancel that. Right? Oh boy, I had it and then it went away. Damn it. Okay, so
Your
yes,
values should be your priorities.
yes, value should
Yes.
be, and when they're with, that's my whole point, is
Yeah.
that when we are not in line with those, I get an internal angst. Like it
Mhm.
makes me feel like something is off or I'm not in line with my integrity. And that
Yes.
feels, so I think we often talk about the body on this Facebook Live, and it is when our bodies will let us know when we're out of alignment.
Yes.
And so when people talk about out of alignment or that they feel off or whatever, I think that a good place to check in is that, are you living the way that you set out to be or whatever by your values?
Yes. And I'm really glad you said integrity, because that's kind of where my mind was going with this, is like your priorities and your values really are aligned, right? They should be, is the goal. Um, and I was just reflecting that when I have worked for other people or other agencies and their particular values in the agency don't align with mine and my internal values and what I prioritize, there was huge conflict within myself.
Right.
And it's like so hard to
Mm-hmm.
be working for someone or being part of a group or something where their values don't align with yours.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to take a good hard look at what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
how you can get to a place where you feel aligned, um, and living from a place of integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at some point when that happens, when we are working for people or we're doing things, then like it will be too much on our systems and it will be feel like we can't do it anymore, and so we need to make a shift. And so it's super important, and if we don't make the shift, then I think that is when we get all sorts of problems, because those
Yes.
anxiety increases, depression
Depression.
definitely increases, and this overall level of angst or like something is not right.
Yeah.
uh
Feeling stuck,
yeah,
lost in the void. Like,
yeah,
what's the purpose of anything?
right.
Yeah, that feels terrible.
It does feel terrible. And
Mhm.
so use whatever you're prioritizing will illuminate what your values are. And if you're prioritizing things that you don't want to be, then think about how you make that shift.
Yeah.
So,
And just pausing and checking in about that and noticing
right.
without judgment, just being curious and seeing kind of what's
Good
there.
ad. Good ad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm guilty of that,
Right.
right? I have a
Yeah.
really critical part that might be judging me, right?
Right.
But just try to notice, like, uh, is what I'm prioritizing in my day and my week, are those things aligned with my values?
And your values for vacation might be different than your values for work. And so to pay attention that things could be your values could be different at different times.
Yeah. So, how do we do this? How do we uncover our superpower and define our own values and strengths to help us be happier and more successful? Though there are lots and lots of ways. We're just going to talk about a few ideas, how to uncover your superpower. So, specifically with values, some ideas. Erin talked about that values activity that she did with
Yes.
during a workshop or something.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
just figuring out whatever your top values are. If you have a whole list, so there's tons of lists on the internet, and we have a list on our blog of different values that you could choose, and to start to differentiate what you and oh, the key point to all of that, and I missed that part, is that what are the things that you value when you are your best self? And so that was super important, because these are not when I'm my stressed out self, not when I'm in a bad place self. Like when I'm at my best self, what are the things that like get me so stoked about life?
Yeah.
And so that's an important thing, I think, to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do things like value card sorts, and you can Google that. I'm pretty sure you can download stuff like that for free and just like explore what are the values here that I actually feel good about. I also, when I do this with myself and with clients, is I have a category of values that I think I should have that like society or family makes me feel like I should, but
Mhm.
actually I don't care about that, you know?
You have an
So,
example?
um, oh yeah,
Not to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I'm trying to think. Like following rules, like I don't know if there's a word for that, but that's certainly something that society tells you should do, but
right,
I don't care about that. I have my own rules. Um,
right.
what's another example of that?
Of rules that society has.
Yeah, or
Um,
like things we think we should value.
well, I think for
Um,
myself, the society tells me that I should value wearing high heels because I'm a woman, and I don't. Not even one bit.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good
So,
example.
so like, that's kind of a silly example, but it's everywhere. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I do value being healthy, but my value around that may look different than someone else's.
Right.
And that's okay too. It
Yes.
doesn't have to fit some like perfect standard that you think being healthy means being a vegan, or you can define what that
Right.
is for you. Um,
And I was listening to something and they were talking about comparing, and it's not necessarily, what was I listening to? It was not that you're comparing against other people, you were comparing to like your yesterday's self, or like
mm,
comparing yourself against yourself. And so,
yeah,
like, if you want to make some sort of change, compare yourself to 6 months ago, like, how are you doing now?
yes.
And
Use yourself as a
yes,
baseline
yes, which
and
is,
not anyone else.
yes, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so values card sorts are helpful. I think maybe having dedicated time to like meditate about it or journal
Mm-hmm.
about it and be curious about what your
Right.
values are. I think doing stuff like the Myers Briggs or Enneagram, those kinds of things to sort of learn more about
Yes.
you.
Gives you information about yourself. I also love, I've talked about this, I don't know on here, but I would talk about it a lot, of the Four Tendencies by
Yeah.
Gretchen Rubin. And I think that when we figure out what our values are and then how to create habits around those. And so four tendencies are just how you respond to expectations. And so it's super important to figure out like how I'm going to do this, but we could be totally different. Actually, but I think we're the same. We are the same tendency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the same tendency. We are upholders.
Upholders.
Right. And so I think that's partially why it works as well. And so how to implement your values in your life could be really helpful to read or take that assessment.
Yeah, any kind of thing that really helps you dive into more about who you are.
The Strength Finders too, I think, is
Yes.
awesome.
So yeah, I was going to bring that up about strengths. Because that's
Right.
the whole thing. It identifies your top 5 strengths, and there's so many of them. And
There's so many.
yeah.
I was kind of surprised that things that I didn't think, but then I read about them and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember your top one?
Empathy.
I'm relator.
Right. It's close,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there are all kinds of things, and we'll put these in the comments just to keep the ideas fresh about some ways that you can explore your own values
Or if you
and
have
strengths.
and if you have exercises that you do to clarify values or ideas around that, we would love, 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 love to hear your ideas.
Yeah, and we also wrote a blog post about, can you see?
There
Yeah,
you go.
how to tap into more joy by defining your personal values. And we go through some really specific steps and prompts to help you kind of identify that and explore your values more. So we will link that in the comments below as well. And yeah, I think that's what we have. So really, this can help you to be happier and more successful, uncover your superpower by finding what your values and strengths are. It goes a long way.
Right. And so there is something to help with all of this, because I think that intuition is a superpower, and I also think that values are a superpower. And so if you can, I'm super excited about it because we did a free course on how to strengthen and get in touch with your intuition. And so that video series is available on our website, and we'll post the link in the comments so that you can, if you are interested in that, and because I think intuition can also be kind of a vague thing, and go over a lot of different ways to kind of strengthen that and get in touch with that. And so I'm super stoked about it. So I hope you are super stoked about it. But anyway, so if you can take your intuition based decisions, so like I feel this in my gut, and then line them up with your values, then that is the superpower for me.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so because that is your insides and your outsides in what you're doing.
Yeah. And Aaron breaks that down really beautifully in a really tangible way. Like, actually, what is intuition and how do I grow it?
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So, check it out. We will post that. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
And we will see you all in the next one.
Yep.
Tune in every Tuesday at 7. We'll have some goodie out here for you.
Goodie. I love it.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for watching.
See you later. Bye.